All right, today we are talking about not another wellness retreat.
What? Why?
Because there's so many out there. This is like the thing now, right?
Wellness retreats.
So many wellness retreats that are going on.
Yeah. They're not necessarily a bad thing.
No, we've been on many.
Yes.
But we do want to talk about what they are, how many different kinds there are, how to choose, and many more topics along that line. So
Yeah, sounds great. Welcome back to the Mind Change Podcast. I'm your host, Heather McKean. And today I have joining me the best guest we could possibly want. I might be a little biased. Kent McKean, my partner. Hi again.
hey, beautiful.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Today we are talking about not another wellness retreat. So let's talk about where did they even come from? Like when did this thing start? Why do people do this? I mean, there's so many different types. So I'll let you kind of get that started.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when they started. I know they've been a thing for quite a while. I do think there are more now than ever before. We can get into that in a little while. But yeah, why wellness retreats? I think that especially in the United States,
Sure.
I wouldn't say the West in general, because I think there's some other countries that are much better at this, but the United States has lost this idea of a holiday, of vacation. So we just don't really do that and do it well. And some people I mean, we're guilty of this through our lives. Our vacations in the past, when we'd get our 2 weeks off,
Right.
We would go to Disneyland or Disney World, usually.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, nothing other than not vacation type for body and mind.
No, that's like entertainment and fun and newness and exhilaration and all of that.
Yeah, and probably a coping mechanism. Disney's wonderful. We happen to love Disney. I know that some people don't, but that's not why we're here. What we're here to talk about. But I think the idea that our bodies and our minds need rest. They need a holiday. They need maybe sometimes some different types of entertainment. And I don't think that that's a negative thing. But I think that because we in the United States especially are so poor at doing vacations and holidays that really rejuvenate us, then the wellness retreat was born.
Right.
As a way to really intentionally and purposefully spend time on self-improvement or wellness or like fixed rest relaxation.
Well, backing up for a moment, even the whole Disney thing that we would do with our kids every year, it was a beautiful, wonderful, fun thing to do. But I think because in the West specifically, like we work very hard, right? So it's that whole thing of like work hard, play hard. But we actually, when we would play, we would go at it hard. Like I know that I would create these vacations and it was like, okay, we have this many days and we're going to go here and do this and that. And so we kind of played like we worked, right? Like very, very hard. And
they were exhausting.
Yeah, no, I loved it and everything. But
it's good memories.
It's good memories. But the thing is that there is this idea, like, what if people worked in a restful, peaceful, joyous way? Maybe they would also live and holiday in the same way. Who knows?
Yeah, that's another podcast.
But regardless, vacations or doing something for ourselves often includes like go, go, go still.
Right.
So then however long ago, whenever this began, I mean, I know that there's other countries that do so many different retreats and so many different things, probably better than the US. For various reasons. Life culture is slower and things like that. But wellness retreats became a big thing in recent decades, and now is a major thing. So maybe we can talk about the different types of wellness retreats out there, because you say wellness retreat, that can mean a million things to a million people. So let's talk about some different types, some main types that are out there, right? There's always subcategories and everything, but talk about some of the main types.
Sure. I think probably one of the most common retreats that we'd see these days are yoga retreats, or some sort of body movement retreat.
Right.
And so, and this is probably the vast majority of, if you look on, I know there's a website or something like retreat.com or something like that. I'd say the vast majority of retreats that you're going to find are probably going to be a yoga retreat.
Okay.
Which is interesting because most people who are interested in yoga have their own private personal practice, or they go to a local yoga studio and they do their yoga. So it's interesting how many people want to go to a destination location and do yoga. And again, there is nothing wrong with that. I think that's beautiful. I think that's wonderful. And usually it's a beautiful place, and there's oftentimes healthy food involved, or really just a lot of time built in for rest, relaxation.
Right.
So that's, I'd say, probably your number one go-to is you're gonna find a yoga retreat.
A number of years ago, when I was planning an anniversary trip for us, one of the things I looked at is like, oh, what if we went to Thailand and it has this yoga retreat and healthy food, and like, that's like an amazing, beautiful, like, to me, I'm nourishing my body, I'm nourishing my muscles, I'm nourishing my stomach, right, my mouth, all of these different things, which is amazing. It's a great thing to do. Okay, so that's one of the types of retreats. What else?
Really, I mean, there's just so many more. You can do, I remember like on Maui, there was surf retreats. You come in, I think that particular one, they camped, or maybe they glamped, but they would go and spend some time, once a day, surf for a couple of hours, and then had, just sort of free time and maybe a few meals together here and there. I know that there's hiking retreats.
Yeah.
There are now, and not usually in this country, but in other countries, there's a lot of psychedelic retreats. Those are really relatively new.
Right.
So lots of different, really, you find something you're interested in, pretty much can find a retreat happening somewhere around the world.
Okay.
Who's doing it. I know there's Wim Hof retreats, and, the Iceman, and they cold plunge. So generally you've got a particular medium or focus, right? That it's yoga with some extra stuff. It's cold plunging with some extra stuff. It's,
Breath work.
Sure, we've done a number of the breath work retreats. So usually that's what it's focused on, and that's what they do with a little bit of extra sprinkled on top.
Okay. So we talked about how there's like so many of these. Why? Why are there so many now, seemingly? You try to vacation, you try to retreat, and you have like too many to choose from. It's like going to a restaurant and you open it and you're like, why is this 6 pages? I just want a 1 page, right? Like, just help me find the right one. Why are there so many?
Well, again, it's kind of a booming industry, but I think there is a particular component to why it's a booming industry right now. And that is that it has become part of a marketing package.
Okay.
So say that you're going to be a life coach, and you want to build your business, and you want to be a life coach, and you're kind of starting from scratch, and you're trying to work your Instagram game or whatever. More than likely, not very many people get big enough to support themselves just off of those little things. So very often they join a business coaching forum or container, right? Someone who's helping people in that field plan with their business and market their business. And it has become really, really popular that part of those marketing plans, and it's basic, like build your email list and be a part of a summit or host a summit, or, do these funnels on your, thing, post on Instagram every day, 3 stories, 1 post, it's these
Sure.
formulas, right? So in a lot of these business marketing packages now, they're also telling people host retreats. And there's entire courses on how to host a retreat and all the money you can make by hosting a retreat. And so now it's one of those things that, someone spends a week or 4 days at a course or takes an online course, and now they're a life coach, and they do a little bit of business marketing, and then they are like, okay, I'm going to host a retreat. And they just put together a retreat, with this retreat hosting handbook, which is all great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. Retreats are fantastic. We love retreats. I think the thing with that, though, is now you've got, the market's just inundated. Everyone's doing a retreat. And you don't always know exactly what you're going to get. The retreat of someone who's been, practicing yoga or teaching yoga or doing something for 20 years, 10 years is going to probably be a little bit of a different flair than someone who took, their online life coaching course and, got that done in over a weekend. And now they're like, okay, business, I'm going to host a retreat. And they're doing some of the very common retreat little activities that you do. I think those are going to be really different, the quality and the intention, depending on what it is that you're looking for.
Well, even if you're talking about more like international retreats, right? You talk about now a big thing out there over the last, I would say, 2 to 5 years are these ayahuasca retreats, right? And now there's there's ones that you can go to that's like 10, 15 grand for 4 days, in wherever in South America.
Costa Rica, Peru, yeah.
But then there's ones that are more authentic, that have been they're with actual deep shaman, and right. So there's a different feel depending on who's hosting.
Yes.
And that's a big deal. Okay, so with all of that, people go to these retreats, and maybe it's not just a retreat. Maybe it's a weekend workshop, or maybe it's whatever there is. Why do people tend to go to retreat after retreat after retreat, rather than one or maybe once a year, or I don't know. Tell me, because there are people out there that will go to many workshops, many intensives, many retreats, many times a year. Is there anything wrong with that? Is there a problem with that? Why do people do that? I would love to hear that.
Well, I think, again, there's many reasons. You've got, in the health and wellness realm, you've got what we call workshop hoarders or course hoarders or retreat hoarders. They're just collecting the certificates and collecting the knowledge. They just like that. Honestly, I would probably be like that if I didn't have so much focused work, if I hadn't found the thing that I think works the best. And so it's just fun. You get to learn more and experience more and meet more people that are kind of in like-minded situations.
Yeah.
So I think that's fun. Then there is a particular group that might be running a program of, I'm so broken or I'm so messed up that I have to keep going to thing after thing, retreat after retreat, workshop after workshop to try and figure out the thing that's going to fix me. Right?
Or even just modality for modality, healing this, healing that, the constant, the constant I'm broken. I got to find the answer somewhere out there.
Mm-hmm. And there's a few different, I think, drivers behind that. For some people, it's if there's not something wrong, then there's no good reason to put any time, energy, or money towards it. And so we desperately need these times, these retreats, to retreat back from our normal day-to-day life or world or whatever. Maybe not even because there's anything wrong with it. It's just perspective. Maybe we're blissfully happy in our day-to-day life. Please, I hope so. But, but we sometimes need a step away from it to get into different communities, to grow, to change, to see different scenery, and to just take some different perspective, or to maybe work on one area of our life that we need a little more growth in. So I think that there's that part of it too. But for others, if that's the only way that you can invest in yourself. I think I used to be a little bit like that. Like I didn't feel justified to spend the money or the energy or the time if I was like good. I mean, if I'm good, I should just keep doing, keep working, keep this, or vacation for my kids, or, like there's only so much money and there's only so much time. And so we gotta, like, why spend it on something that isn't broken? And so my body was like, oh, really? So I guess we need to be broken to get a little bit of time for ourselves, So I think that's part of it. And I've seen that with even just in our work with people even coming for sessions and various things like that. There's a lot of mind programs and belief systems happening behind the scenes that are contributing to whether people spend the time or the money on themselves from a place of personal development or enlightenment or leveling up versus there's something wrong with me and I need to figure out how to fix it.
Okay.
I'm sure there's multiple other reasons that people, but those are some of the main drivers that I see people really go after these things for in abundance.
Okay, so we have these different things. Obviously, people could just go because they enjoy them and they want to retreat themselves, right? They want to do these things. But I do want to talk just for a moment about what retreat you're choosing and what for, having to do with lasting results, right? Because you can go to like a nice, like take care of your body for the week kind of a thing. And it's wonderful and it's great, versus you're going somewhere to actually, like you said, level up, to take that next step moving forward rather than just busy, life, problem. I feel good for a moment. And now I'm just like life, problem, right? So I want to talk a little bit about these different retreats that people go to and how do you choose something that's lasting? Because I really do believe most people that go to some kind of intensive retreat, like, right, that's not just I'm just going to eat whatever I want. Not just the like all-inclusive this and that, but like, hey, I'm going for a purpose. I'm going for a reason. They tend to want results. So tell me about, how do we know what lasting results are from a retreat?
Well, I do think that the biggest part of that is people really figuring out what it is they need. So do they need just rest and relaxation?
Right.
That's that's probably more like book an all-inclusive vacation, or you want a little bit of movement or a little bit of cleaner eating or something like that while you rest and relax. Fine. But you really need to know what you're getting into, because you could easily go to a yoga retreat and get your butt kicked. Like there are butt kicking yoga retreats, right? Where you think, I'm just going to stretch a little. And, if you don't know which one you're going to,
right,
there are those. And there are other ones that are taking people to the next level in their body movement, right? So I think that one of the main things to do, like I said, is intention. Second is, and I feel very strongly about this, is who it is that's holding the space, who it is hosting the retreat. I think that matters because that is going to play into a little bit about what kind of experience that you have there. For instance, we were just at a retreat, intensive. So that's another thing. If the word intensive is in there, that's probably good to notice.
Gonna have some intensity there.
There's going to be some intensity in some way. It's going to push past your comfort zones and some of the things that might be keeping you stuck. That doesn't have to feel not good, but it also, that's going to push you a little bit. And I think actually a lot of people need that, even if they think they just need rest and relaxation. I think part of that is we sometimes rest and relax to cope away from things, where if you can get rest and relaxation while also getting kind of intentionally into some of the places that you're feeling stuck on the day-to-day, I mean, that's even going to be better coming back, right?
Right, really engaging while you're there
right,
for a purpose with intention.
Yeah, so we were at an intensive retreat this last weekend, and it was interesting because at this particular retreat, at least and it was a smaller, more intimate retreat, but two of the maybe 20 some people that were there mentioned that they had been to a similar type of retreat and had been really traumatized, wounded at that particular retreat, or at another retreat that they had previously gone to.
Another intensive, another person.
Another intensive, right. Another group that they did that with. So I think that, that's another thing too to consider is how do you know the person hosting? Do you know the person hosting? Can you see some feedback? Do they have people that you could call who can share the experience of if they were there? Not really not from a skeptical, like fearful place, but just a little bit of due diligence on what is your intention, and are they going to create a safe container for whatever it is you're doing, especially if it's an intensive of any sort. If there's going to be transformation of any sort, are there enough staff, enough people, enough wisdom and experience within the hosts of the retreat to handle whatever may arise?
It's just about, if it's more expensive, then it's better.
Man.
No, I do want to talk about that though, because I mean, you're talking about finding out, like, what is this the best person hosting? Is this the best place? Is this the best, group or whatever? But there are retreats that are so expensive. How do you know which one, even with expense? Like what?
Yeah, it isn't always that, right?
Right.
I'm sure you could spend a lot of money and go to a retreat and come away with it with like, or even, that was not what I was needing or wanting. I was
speaking, if I could just really quick, I was speaking with someone at this intensive that we were at who was talking about some of their travels, and they had gone to Sri Lanka and they did a silent meditation retreat, and it was like 7 days. And she was talking about all the different things that were going on there, and it was really good for her, and it was just like super reflective and going inward, and $80 for the week, all inclusive. Wow. Right? And like good food and now obviously different country, different things. So $80 US. But for her, it was very meaningful and intimate and authentic. Right? So my point is, cost doesn't always amount to.
I need to get the number for that retreat. No, for sure. There's going to be different levels depending on where you go. And I mean, it's a great conversation actually to have around why retreats are so expensive in general. That one I've never heard of something that inexpensive. That's amazing. But I think for like, we host retreats, and one of the things that when we first started getting into it, it was unbelievable how much these places charge you to host a retreat there.
Oh, right. To like rent the space so that you can then charge your clients.
Yes. It is astronomical. And it's partially why a lot of people are doing them overseas in various places. A lot of things in Costa Rica and Peru and Mexico. And, it's just going to be a little bit cheaper to get maybe a little bit of what we might think of as higher end, kind of things. But I think it is important for people to understand that oftentimes what you're taking into account when someone's doing one of these retreats is, let's say it's a week-long retreat. So this person, and it's usually multiple people, depending on how many people that you have attending the retreat, they're taking a week off of work.
Right.
That's a week out of their, day-to-day, whether they see clients or whether they, teach or whether they do something like that. That's a week, and probably a little bit more than a week. If it's a week-long retreat, you're going to have the days leading up to it and the days after it that are the prep and then basically the takedown. So these people are losing, in one sense, 1 week worth of income. If we're just talking about cost of everything, right? Then they travel to get wherever you're going. And then there's lots and lots and lots and lots of costs that go into this. Even especially all-inclusive things, there's a lot of cost that goes into it.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing it in a foreign country, it can be very expensive. Then you've also got the level of expertise that you may be dealing with. And if you've got someone that's a very high level of expertise who is sharing countless hours with you. If you were to pay for that one-on-one, it would be astronomical.
Sure.
Versus you're able to have kind of that unhindered exposure in some retreats, not some. Some you see them for maybe an hour or two at a time, and then you're with facilitators or whatever. But that being said, I mean, there's a lot that goes into these things. So it's easy to be on the other side and be like, whoa, these are expensive for various ones. I know I've seen yoga retreats that were close to 10 grand.
I've seen a juice cleanse retreat where you basically hang out at the beach and get juice all week for $10,000.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you just get to be there and be with the person hosting and maybe do some movement classes in the morning, and then it's just free time. And yeah.
Yes. So I think it's really, it depends. Money's very subjective when it comes to those kind of things, but they are not cheap to host generally if you don't have your own retreat facility. And then there are these places that's how they make their income. They bring in people and they are like trying to get you to, I get tons of these of like, come do a retreat at our place. And that's great. And, you know, sometimes those are really wonderful, but they can have a little bit of a turnover feel, or there's other people there. Or sometimes they are absolutely fantastic. It really depends.
Okay, so we've talked about finances and retreats. We've talked about how many different retreats there are. We've talked about I'd love to talk about, because for retreats for us, okay, so our audience, obviously, probably a Mind Change audience, you know about what we do. For us, it would be wonderful at some point, you know, just to rest and relax and go do a little take care of your body vacation. But for us, a retreat always has intention. And if I go to, just like we did this last weekend, an intensive, like I'm going there to gain something. Mm-hmm. I'm going there to level up. I'm going there to transform in some way. So I want to talk a little bit about these retreats that maybe aren't just I feel nice for the week, like real retreats that are really trying to help people push to that next level, heal that next part of them, open and expand something inside of them that's been blocked. Like there are retreats like that, and really genuine, authentic people that are hosting these. So I want to talk about these retreats and how there are many retreats like this where you go in, and even while you're there, it feels really good. Like you're with community and people are opening up, and it's like you're there for 2 days and you just feel like you know these people. Like it's really, really good. But there are places like this where you go and then maybe you leave and it feels really good for a week or 2 or 3 or maybe even a couple of months. And then it's just kind of life again. So maybe talk about the differences of some of these places, and like, what's the point of that then? If you feel good for a little bit, but then you come back and it's really the same life, the same Heather, the same Kent, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think part of that, again, is the person coming. Part of that is the intention that they set. Part of that is the way that they're built for, you know, those things, their beliefs, the way they perceive the world, the way they perceive those kind of things. You know, that's, I'd say, probably the biggest factor. But then on the other side of that, there is, you know, like, it really depends. If you go to a yoga retreat and your goal is handstand, right? Like, and it's a handstand yoga retreat and you handstand and then you're like, ah, that was amazing. You got what you came for. Yeah. And you're probably going to go home and now think about maybe you don't do as well, or maybe you do it even better, and you've learned your handstand. I mean, I think that's great. It really depends on the intention of what you're going there for. I do think that there's a little bit of a like psychological thing happening though. When you go, you're at a destination, things are different. You're a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but surrounded by comfort. Mm-hmm. And you've got people there and they're into it. And there becomes this sort of energy that happens, and that feels good. it feels good to share that much space with people who are happy and who are feeling good and are trying to level up or are sharing their hearts or getting open or being deep and being vulnerable. I think that that is not what we see in our day-to-day life. It's not what we're usually experiencing with Joe in the cubicle next to me, or, with so-and-so on my Zoom call and my Zoom meeting. Like, that's just generally not what we're surrounded with. So you take time and you go away and there's this group and there's people you would maybe never be in the same room with. There's a little bit of a there's something to that.
Yeah, there's something cooking.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think that it shows an experienced, responsible host when they're also empowering everybody to understand that it's this feeling that's happening right here. It isn't just circumstantial. Like, you can take this with you, and figuring out ways to help each individual person take away with them something that they can keep forever, something that they can hold on to, something that will, if they're going to a life transforming type of retreat or an intensive or a purposed retreat, that they really feel like they've walked away with a tool, a knowledge, a skill, something that they're walking away with that they can keep.
Yeah.
And that it's not just, I only can feel this feeling when I'm there, which is great for business, I'll say. I mean, listen.
Because it keeps drawing people back,
Keeps
right?
people,
Oh, you want to feel good?
Want to feel it again?
You want to feel good? Come back.
Sign on the dotted line for the next one and get your discount. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do want to kind of break into, we're talking about not another wellness retreat. Of course, as you know, audience, we host retreats as well, right? And we're kind of like talking about all the crazy, the good, the bad, the ugly of retreats. But at the same time, for us, retreats has so much to do with the return on investment, right? I mean, it's really important for personally, I believe, if I'm going to be investing financially, if we're talking about business, like if someone's going to invest something financially into a stock or into a business or into something, they want to make sure that they're getting something better in return. That's smart investing. And so when we are investing financially, time-wise, emotionally, like all of these things into a retreat, for me personally, I would want myself and other people to get a greater return on investment. And so I would love to talk about, the transformative retreats, like not just feeling the feeling while you're there, because that's a great thing, but not having to chase that feeling all the time, but being able to be somewhere and grab it for ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, so for all those people out there listening or watching that are considering maybe adding a retreat into their year or their life at some point, it's such a good point to say this, because it really is, you're going to get what you put into it often. And so there is this idea of, especially if it's going to be any sort of an intensive thing, of like, go and be all in. Because that's the investment, and you're investing in yourself. Even if you're just going to do a rest relaxation one, really invest in that, right? Or just you're going to do yoga once a day on a 5-day retreat. Great. Really invest in that yoga. Really make their I mean, for our retreats, we have people do manifestos. For anyone who doesn't understand what that means, read the book, but it really is a way of setting the intention for the mind and the body and the soul or the gut of what you're going to be sharing with others. It matters. So I think that being all in is going to be the first step of getting a return investment that's a healthy return investment. I would say the other thing is, again, like, what are you getting from this? What are you going for? What is it that you intend to walk away with? And then be all in on that. And, for us, our retreats, we were like, let's check every box. Let's make sure people are eating beautiful, healthy, nutritionist.
Nutrition.
Oh my goodness, nutritional.
Nourishing.
Thank you. Nourishing food, and a beautiful location, and built-in rest and relaxation, and group work, and one-on-one work, and like prep work and homework and
Body work, mind work.
right. So
like
we're also going to be doing
community work.
yoga. We are also going to be doing breath work. I mean, we set out to create a retreat unlike we had ever seen before.
Okay, so talk about that, because there are retreats where people really do go deep, right? There's retreats where, especially I think probably some of the most transformative retreats that we hear about are some sort of a breath work, right? Where there's people are like crying or laughing or screaming or like, well, there's a lot of things like that. But it's important not to just access those emotions and those things. Tell me about a transformative retreat. Like, how do you make sure that it's transformative, that it's lasting?
Yeah. Well, also, I would say we hear a lot about the psychedelic retreats,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
People say, oh, this psilocybin retreat or this ayahuasca retreat or, something like that. And it changed the way I was feeling when I was there. And I think that that's great. It's making sure that you have tools to walk away with, that you can understand and not put all of the power into the place or into the modality or into the medicine, the plant medicine, or into the facilitator. I think the best possible, responsible, transformative retreat is going to be putting the power back inside of you.
Yes.
So you may have these wonderful breakthroughs. You may cry, you may rage, you may, scream, you may, access
out.
another, dimension of your mind, which is wonderful and powerful. But what happens when you go home, right?
Yeah.
Like making sure that you have something tangible. I know some people do, but it's not like you're going to be walking away with like a bag of psilocybin in your pocket that anytime you want to feel that feeling again, you have to take the psilocybin.
Unless you live in Oregon.
Pardon?
Unless you live in Oregon.
Or even then, I think that it's not the easiest thing to get a hold of. And even then, there's a heck of a lot of people who have gone that route and still didn't get deep underneath the trauma. They had an experience, a journey, but they didn't really get to the underneath of the trauma.
And also the power is oftentimes the power, like you say, is given to those things. Mm-hmm. And so in order to reach that place, reach that new narrative, that new belief, that whatever, you keep having to go back rather than those things possibly being a portal or a tool or a doorway. But the most important thing, in my opinion, for a transformative retreat is when we open this part of us and we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that power, that change, that transformation, that was always in me. And now I know how to hold it, how to harness it, how to be it, how to live it, how to love it.
Absolutely. Because that you can keep doing. You can keep building upon that experience. And again, I'm not saying that can't happen at a yoga retreat or a plant medicine retreat or something, but from my experience, it's not as widespread as I would like that to be, where you come home and you have really directed, intentional ways to keep supporting what happened at that retreat.
You're saying it's not as widespread, meaning there's thousands of retreats, few of them allow people to come home with that transformation inside of them that propels itself.
Right, that builds upon what they may have had at the retreat.
Right.
And again, the retreats are, amazing spaces, because to be
Yeah.
able to do that collectively, there's something. I remember at our last retreat,
You mean our last mind change
our
retreat?
last mind change retreat that we hosted in Belize, during some of the breathwork work that we did, which again is one of our extra pieces. It isn't even the work. Like, the mind change work is the biggest. That's the most intentional transformation work that we're going to do. And as an extra, we do breathwork, powerful breathwork sessions. And I remember at one of the breathwork sessions, it was the way everyone just was synced up, and it was so powerful that every single person there, some had never done breathwork in their life, but every single person there was just like, what just happened? And it was amazing. And that's so incredible to do with a group, safe, selected container where everyone shows up and everyone's all in, and they're coming from different places and they have different things, but they're all like, I'm in. And then transformation happens together too. It's huge.
Right.
And that's wonderful. And that is difficult to replicate at home. But hopefully you also have and are given tools, and you're touching base throughout the time and throughout your retreat, and understanding, this piece I take with me. This piece I take with me. This was me all the time. This piece I brought with me. Like, this was always there. That's really going to be the thing that makes this, like you said, the return of investment. It's going to be huge, because it'll keep growing. It'll keep paying dividends, to use.
Yeah, that's the
That
integration
language.
part. Okay, so let's. I would love to toot the horn of our last retreat that we had and share some just really cool stories of some of the people there. And of course, we're talking about wellness retreats in general, and it's important what you choose. But we also want to be able to share okay, this is why it's so important to focus on what is important when you're going to invest in yourself. So I'd love to share, maybe we can converse a little bit about some of those stories of people and why it was so transformative for them, lasting transformation. So yeah, do you want to share about anyone in particular? Earlier you talked about people who go from retreat to retreat to retreat because they're searching for something outside of them. We had one of those come.
We did. Love her.
Yeah.
Not going to say her name. We protect confidentiality, but we did have an individual who came. She was remotely familiar with mind change work, a little bit, but she came, and she is one of those, like we said, retreat hoarders. She goes to everything she can go to, and she has the means, and it's amazing, and it's great that she's able to do that.
And I would do it.
I think I probably would do it too. But she came in a little bit like, been here, done that. Okay, let's do this.
It's another retreat.
Just another retreat. And by I think third day we were there, everyone was just like, oh my gosh, she's changed so much. She was like this bright, shining light. And she even said, I never get like this. This is not the way I normally do these kind of retreats.
This is where the terminology at our retreats that was used maybe for the first time at one of our retreats was, guys, I felt the shift. I had a shift. And then it was shift happens.
Yeah, t-shirts are coming. Yes, it was really amazing to watch that. And then it's so great when you've got the group and everyone's all in and everyone celebrates everyone's progress and shifts. And also when someone is struggling and trying to push through, you've got this support.
You rally around them.
Yeah, and everyone loves that. And it's just this constant give and take. That is a beautiful thing that happens. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so then we had, speaking of people who were I'll just come. We had a couple come one time, a couple of years back, that the husband was just I'm here to support my wife. That was kind of his introduction. I think what she's doing is great, and I'm just here, and I'll enjoy the island, and I'm sure I'll get something out of this. Day 2 or 3 comes around.
Oh my goodness. He was a changed man.
Did not have a manifesto.
Nope.
Did not come with intentionality.
Nope.
Did not come to transform his life. And yet,
He came to lay on the beach and support his wife.
yeah,
And he couldn't help himself.
no. He's probably one of the biggest fans now, actually.
Oh, he's on
Like,
every one of our
he's-
mentoring calls.
He's like awesome.
He is like, he shares, they came to,
Well, so they decided
Yeah.
we wanted to come back the next year as well.
that's right.
I mean, a really cool story with that is that they had a lot of fertility issues, and through the mind change work, she grew a baby in her belly, and they came back to the second one as a baby moon. Like they were gonna
that's
she was about
right.
6 months pregnant or whatever it was, and
So
it was
incredible.
beautiful. So
Yeah, that was so much fun. And I remember, I think it was the last day, like everybody just enveloping him and thanking him for just how he showed up and how he changed. And it was really, that was beautiful.
So we have a lot of people, in Mind Change, we do talk a lot about neuroscience. We talk about, just science, what's happening in the brain, all of that. So there are, I would say, a good portion of people that come to us aren't necessarily in the body world, all of that, because just of how we've branded this, how really, not how we branded it, how you got into this was like, I want to figure out what's happening in the brain, right? I mean, that was the whole, I don't know, precipice to like how Mind Change started.
Sure.
So we do have people that are, yoga and in the body, but not as many. But we did have someone come that was like super in the body and just like flow and this and that. They came to one of our retreats, and the Mind Change work was what they talked about as like, oh my goodness, I'm like 2 in my body, and I needed to clear some things up there. And so that was really, I don't know if you want to comment anything else on that, but
Yeah, I mean, that was a great experience too, because this was someone who, again, has been to and hosted countless retreats.
right, yeah,
It's her entire
years
life
and years, yeah,
is energy work and breath work and body work and
sound work, and
so she's just the complete professor of all of that stuff.
and incredible at it.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
amazing.
Yes. So comes a little bit more like, we'll see, I don't know, and then was blown away by the Mind Change work and really feels like it balanced her in such a great way. I mean, she was just like furiously taking notes during some of our teaching moments and stuff. So yeah, that was really cool to see too.
We have couples that have come. We had a couple last year that came that, I mean, it was the wife that was pushing it, but I mean, their marriage was on the rocks, like majorly on the rocks. And they didn't know.
Like way
what
out
was
on the
gonna happen.
rocks.
Like so far out.
With low
that-
tide
There
and
you
high
go.
tide coming.
And to see the change in them, and this is what's cool about these retreats, is we tend to keep in touch with people. And so to see the massive amount of closeness that came in, and the breakthroughs and the letting go of all the stuff that had happened, the wounds and the damages throughout the years of marriage. And then at the end of the retreat, like, oh my goodness, there's connection, there's something there. And it didn't end there, because it was so transformative for them. They held it, they let go of all of the trauma, the problems, the issues, and they held that power inside, that now they're doing so well. They've like bought property together. They're having another kid together. I mean, it's beautiful. And they're continuing to do the work themselves, because they know the power's inside of them. The power isn't just coming to a retreat, or the power isn't just some tool or something I need. They're recognizing that it's inside of them. Mm-hmm. So that was really amazing.
Yeah, for some people, they come to Mind Change, the retreat that we do, the big retreat we do in Belize, and it's like, it's a jump start. It's like, let's just jump start this whole thing. They may have no knowledge of Mind Change. They may have some knowledge of Mind Change, and they're just like, let's do it all. Like, let's just, and there's huge transformations. And generally they walk away and keep doing the work. there's other people who've been doing the work for quite a long time.
Right.
And they just realize they need a level up. Like they want to go deeper than they have been able to in their self-work. They want to go deeper than they feel than they've allowed themselves to go up to that point. And they know a lot about mind change, and they come. And I think the mix of us also incorporating movement and breath work, and we're getting them from every possible angle.
We're talking about somatics. We're not just talking about, we're doing somatics. We're talking about, heart math and electromagnetic fields and like
polyvagal theory. And
then obviously all the stuff that's happening in the brain and how to let those things, how to rewire. I mean, that's the biggest thing that we do is rewiring subconscious programs. So all of that combined.
Yeah, it's a powerhouse kind of thing. Really, it's, I'm not just saying this, I've never seen anything like what we do, all that we offer in one retreat setting. It's pretty incredible.
I want to share about one more person because they're really special to me. It was we break up practitioners, have different one-on-ones at the retreats. And there's one person that I got to work with last year who I love her. She came in with what you more were talking about at the beginning of this episode about like, I'm broken. The biggest thing was my brain is broken. I hate my brain. Like my brain is, that was like the constant mantra. Meanwhile, again, if we keep telling ourselves something and we really believe it to be true, things happen. Our body and our brain follow. So diagnosed with so many different diseases, diagnoses, so many things, bipolar, so much mental health stuff, physical health things, so much to the point not working for a couple of years. Like there was a lot of stuff there. Suicidal ideation, eating stuff, like addiction stuff. There were so many things. And she came in and had so many big shifts, so many changes, and went back home. And months later, was talking and sharing some things and had to fill something out for a new job that she was getting and realized and recognized, oh my goodness, I forgot that for the last 10 or 15 years, saw myself as bipolar and saw myself as like, she had to write these things that she's like, I didn't even remember, like, that's not who I am. It's gone. And so that's the kind of stories that I'm just like, marriages coming back together, health and mental health, just like all the problems dissipating. That's just, that's why we do what we do.
Absolutely. So we happen to have one of these amazing experiences on the books already and some spots left for people who might be interested. So we have our big transformational intensive retreat that we host on a private island in Belize. And it's amazing. And it's coming up early 2025. So the dates for that, February 9th through the 15th.
Yeah, it's a whole week long. It's Sunday to Saturday. It's incredible. It's all inclusive, all your food, all your everything that's there. You get numerous sessions, private sessions. You get our group work, our group teaching, our somatic movement stuff. You get your breath work. You get your, fun excursions as well. Yeah,
excursions. There's also, it is a little island, and you can paddleboard around the entire island. We saw not the dangerous kind of sharks, because otherwise I wouldn't have been out there, but sharks and turtles, manatee, and stingray, and those massive starfish of all kinds. It is so beautiful. So much fun. There is rest and relaxation built in as well, but mainly it is so transformational. And so we are really excited about doing this. And in the future, in case ever anybody wants to know or cares or has, an extra $1 million plus laying around, would love to invest, we are looking for retreat property. So we want to find something in the States that allows us to create and build an amazing destination kind of location to be able to host even more retreats so that we can make them a little bit more cost effective for people,
Right.
so that we're not having to outsource so much of the money that comes into the retreat, just giving it over to, the place that facilitates the retreat for us. It's a great place. It's a beautiful place. We'll probably even keep going back to somewhere like that in the future. But we'd like to have that as well eventually, so that we can share this more with the world.
So talking about return on investment, this is something that we've seen that people come away with, and that's lasting, that's so much greater than, and it is a big investment, but it's an investment into yourself.
And it's really, considering what you're getting, just look at some of the other retreats out there. Like, considering what you're getting, it's very, very cost effective for all that you're getting.
For sure.
But it's definitely investment in someone's whole being, mind, body, spirit.
Yep.
An incredible thing. So you should come.
Thanks for the conversation today.
Yeah, thanks for chatting about retreats and all that fun stuff. And thank all of you for joining us once again on the Mind Change podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe, download, like, comment, all of that fun stuff. And if you're interested in just learning more about the retreats that we have, just go to mindchange.com. We have the retreat tab there that'll give you all the information. We would love to have you there for your next big transformation. But in the meantime, thanks again for joining us as we endeavor to change the world, one mind at a time.